Welcome, Cousin Riff is a little bit weird. This is the first episode of the 10th season of Barney and Friends, and I'm still on my mission to watch every first episode of every season of Barney to see how the show has progressed over the years. And I can say, by this point, it is almost unrecognizably different to The Queen of Make Believe, which is the very first episode. Back in 1992, it came out a month after I was born, and this 10th season first aired in 2006. So definitely a good chunk of time later, and I can understand the changes, but I feel like at least this first episode, the thing that makes Barney magical, has completely been eradicated. And I really started to feel this with the first episode of the 9th season, and I actually worried, I say worried, it's not a huge concern, but I did wonder if they decided to just basically obliterate the children from now on. But I had to look forward, and apparently it's not the case. It is just this episode. But what I mean by that is there are children in this, but not in the same ways they feature in other episodes. We're not introduced to the children. They don't play a prominent role in it. There are some children in the park. And I feel like also taking this away from the classroom setting makes it unrelatable to the preschool audience. I mean, children can go in parks, but it very clearly gave them an environment that was recognizable, something they could relate to. And by having the children there with great personalities and different problems, it helps the young viewer to feel like they're part of it, like we're on the journey with these children, with Barney, all collectively using our imagination. But Welcome Cousin Riff does not do that. But as I said, I did look at the next episode and the children are back, so it's not a different direction the show is going in. I guess they decided that they don't need children in this, or, as prominently in this, because they're introducing Riff. Riff is actually the cousin of BJ and Baby Bop, and he has moved to the area, and this episode is all about introducing him. And Wikipedia states the educational theme for each episode, and this one is stated as making new friends, which I guess is true because Riff is new to the area, he feels a little bit lost and doesn't really know what to do, but at the same time I feel like it's less about making new friends and more about meeting a family member you've never met before. And I feel like it's a different dynamic, making new friends or getting acquainted with a distant family member. Not exactly the same thing, but ultimately, it's all about making Riff feel welcome, Riff getting used to things. And I have to say, Riff as a character looks pretty cool. He's a little bit shorter than the others. He's a bright orange colour. His head lights up, which is unexpected and pretty awesome. So I can see him being a very likeable character. I don't know how heavily he features going forward. I've never seen him before. Obviously, I was 14 at this point and a little too old for Barney. Interestingly, Barney is I've grown up watching children's shows and continue to watch children's shows because I love usually animation. Barney is one of the ones that I kind of stopped watching around about the time I should have stopped watching it based on my age, which is quite an interesting thing because most of the shows, Rugrats and things, I kept watching. So it's hard to judge this episode because, well, it's not hard to judge it. I don't think it was very good in terms of the magic of Barney and the feeling of the inclusivity and feeling like you're there and like you're immersed in this imaginary world and you're being creative with the children and learning with the children. It's not there. But I feel like maybe it's just separate from the other episodes, kind of like a special. Even though it is actually the first episode of the 10th season, in my mind it feels more like a one-off spin-off to introduce this character, if that makes sense. We do have some children in this. They do help out with putting on a production of The Three Little Pigs, which is one of my favourite stories. So that I absolutely loved. I didn't care for any of the songs in this. There's not a lot of crafts, make and do creativity compared to previous episodes. Not a lot of dances for the children to copy. It definitely feels like you're meant to sit down and watch it rather than participate in the episode. And that's very different to, well, the previous 9 season openers at the very least, and all of the episodes of Barney that I remember. So it definitely isn't a good episode of Barney and Friends, but if we consider it a one-off separate episode to introduce Riff, then I guess it has a pretty decent message in it, and it's not too bad.